I used to live in a small apartment building on the edge of town. It wasn't the nicest place, but it was affordable, and I liked how quiet it usually was. My apartment was on the second floor, and across the narrow courtyard was another row of apartments identical to mine. One night, I was sitting at my desk near the window, scrolling through my phone. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed movement in the building across from me. I looked up and saw my neighbor, a middle-aged man I'd seen a few times in the hall. He was just standing at his own window. At first, I thought nothing of it. But after a few minutes, I realized he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't on his phone. He wasn't watching TV. He was just staring directly at me. I laughed nervously and pulled the curtain shut, trying to ignore it. But the next night, he was there again. Same time, same place. Just staring. That days turned into weeks, and this became a pattern. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night, look toward the window, and see him still standing there motionless. The way the dim courtyard lights hit his face made it even more unsettling. Like he wasn't blinking at all. One night, I decided to test something. I turned off all the lights in my apartment so it was pitch black. I thought maybe he wouldn't be able to see me, but when I peeked out from behind the curtain, I nearly screamed. His face was pressed up against his glass window, fogging it up with his breath, as if he was trying to see me through the dark. I finally told the landlord, who brushed it off as quirky behavior. But a week later, everything escalated. I was heading out to work one morning when I noticed something wedged under my door. It was a folded piece of notebook paper. My stomach dropped when I opened it. Inside, and messy handwriting were the words, "I like watching you sleep." I moved out the following month. To this day, I don't know if he ever followed me, but I still wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, terrified I'll see him standing outside my window again. Back in college, I rented a room in an old house with two other tenants. The landlord, an older man, lived on the first floor, and the three of us lived upstairs. The house had a strange layout, but the oddest part was the basement. The door was at the end of the hall, right outside my bedroom. On the first day, the landlord told us the basement was off limits. He said it was just storage and that we should never go down there. At first, I didn't think twice. But after living there for a few weeks, I started hearing things at night, heavy footsteps on the stairs, dragging sounds like something being pulled across concrete, and sometimes faint whispers. One night, around 2 a.m., I was awake studying when I heard it again, footsteps from below. I pressed my ear to the basement door, and my heart nearly stopped. I heard breathing, slow, heavy breathing. Just on the other side. I stumbled back to my room and locked the door. The next morning, I asked one of the other tenants if they had heard anything strange. She looked pale and admitted she sometimes saw the landlord going into the basement at odd hours carrying bags. Plastic bags. The three of us decided to confront him. But when we finally worked up the courage, the basement door was locked tight with a padlock. A few nights later, I woke up to soft scratching at my bedroom door. I froze, staring at the handle. After what felt like forever, the sound stopped. When I opened my door in the morning, there were fresh, muddy footprints leading from the basement door to mine. I packed my things and left that day. Months later, I found out through a news article that the landlord had been arrested. The police discovered that he'd been keeping a homeless man chained in the basement. But what haunts me the most is the thought. That night when I heard the scratching, it wasn't the landlord. It was the man in the basement trying to get into my room. A few years ago, I bought a small house in a quiet suburban neighborhood. It was the kind of place where kids rode their bikes outside and everyone waved to each other. It seemed perfect. That changed when I met my next door neighbor. He was a tall, lanky man with hollow-looking eyes. At first, he seemed polite. He even brought me a pie when I moved in. But after that, things got strange. Every morning, when I stepped outside to grab the newspaper, he was already in his yard, just standing there, watching me. He never waved, never said a word. Just stared odd at first. I brushed it off as coincidence. But then it started happening at night. I'd be in my living room watching TV, and I'd glance out the back window, and there he'd be, standing in his yard in the dark. Facing my house, one night around 3 a.m., I woke up to a sound in my backyard. My heart pounded as I peeked through the blinds. He was standing right against the fence. But this time, he was holding something, a camera, and it was pointed directly at my bedroom window. I called the police, but when they showed up, he was gone. They didn't find anything. The next morning, I found a Polaroid picture taped to my back door. It was a photo of me sleeping in my bed. I put the house up for sale immediately. But here's the part that still chills me. I had never opened my curtains at night, ever, which means that photo wasn't taken from outside, it was taken from inside my house.